If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
The blah blah.
Sending out good vibes.
Blah blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection. And put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track. Shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
The Egyptians had some of the most advanced mystery schools of all time. People talk about the pyramid, the Great Pyramid was built by aliens and all that kind of stuff, who could have that kind of brain power back then. But they don't realize the initiates did have that brain power back then. They were fully capable of doing that stuff.
Welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We are going to be chatting with Dimitri Moraitis a little bit later about heaven in the astral realm, all that sort of fun stuff. We got Graham back in studio for the first intro.
This is going to be a fun intro.
In a month and a half?
Oh, probably at least, yeah. I mean, we were going to do it last time and we didn't, but now I'm back. I'm almost back. I'm almost back fully from COVID. I'm looking forward to this intro. It's going to be a fun one.
You're back-ish.
Yeah. Dimitri, this was a great chat with Dimitri.
Clearly your immune system needs some work. We're going to have to whip that into shape.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's just my obesity, probably.
Are you obese?
I was.
Technically obese?
Probably. I mean, I'm short, dude. I mean, you should see the fucking standards that the government has for you.
So if you're short, you're like, is the obesity game rigged against short people?
Of course, dude. You know how hard it is to stay thin when you're 5'5" and thick already?
I don't. I wouldn't have anything to compare that to. I've never been.
You know, if they say, here's your ideal weight, you're like, come on, it's impossible.
Bro, the last time I was 5'5" was in like the 4th grade.
There you go. Well, I'm probably already shrinking. So
probably was. I'm trying to think. It would have been, I guess, when do you sprout up? It was probably more like grade 7.
I don't know, because I went to the doctor and they said, yeah, they're like, well, it still might happen when you're 18 or 19.
It might happen, bud. Just hold up. Come on.
Oh, I had those visits to the doctor.
But at least your weight was up, so you're never like under height and underweight.
That's true. Yeah. No. I was always pretty thin.
Well, I don't think you're obese.
No, I wasn't always pretty thin. Actually, I was pretty ripped as a teen.
I don't think you're obese so much as you don't get out enough. You don't move around enough.
Oh my God. Enough of this. Every fucking week you're hounding me about that. I worked last week part-time. Physically.
The part-time, just fucking, I work, dude, part-time. I don't mean just work though. I just mean like
I know, but
exercise.
Yeah. Well, maybe I am exercising.
Are you?
No. But I'll get back into it.
Well, I feel like it's my job to
push you back into it. Okay.
Because I don't think you're obese. I don't think.
Well, I'm not anymore because I lost like 17 pounds.
You eat well, you have a good diet.
For the most part, yeah.
Maybe we should run.
That's what it is. Honestly, that's what it is. It's daily jogging. It's
running.
Daily jogging or something.
But Brandon's like, you got to run, bro.
I know, exactly. I know. This is what sort of inspired me.
Because even me doing the daily walking and going upstairs, it's still not enough.
I know,
like compared to when I was doing push-ups and sit-ups and that kind of stuff.
Wait 10 years. Exactly. It's not even going to be close to enough.
I know.
when you hit 50, like it's really, you have to be doing it daily.
And
I'm back into the meditation. I'm back into the daily meditation.
Yeah. And that dude's running like 8 kilometers a day.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I could make it 8 kilometers. Well, that's weird.
No, you're right. That's what it is. It's the daily exercise. Because I'm doing the daily meditation. I just got to get my lungs back from the Rona, and I'll be okay.
Because I feel like even when you had a day job, I feel like getting like ragey, that counts as a little bit of cardio. You're fired up. That doesn't count?
No.
Getting mad doesn't count as exercise. Getting stressed out.
So
it's probably the opposite.
So I got some great content for this intro. I got a couple things to talk about past guests. I've got a CIA reading room thing to share about. It's all about this. It's all about this. Like, this show is very non-dogmatic. It might sound like like heaven and the astral realms and all that, but these guys have been doing this research for a long time. It goes along with the Theosophical Society stuff that we've been talking about as well.
We did talk about Blavatsky quite a bit in this one.
Yeah.
Your narrating has really got you to be able to hold your own on those theosophical conversations.
I don't know about holding my own yet, but it's coming. I mean, it's got to seep in, right?
You've probably read more of those books than most people at this point.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because I have to read. I can't just skip around. I skip through it. I got to go through the whole thing.
And you're like reading parts of it over, and probably the like hardest parts you have to read. Like 5
times,
sometimes
like, 7 times. I got to reread something,
bro.
Oh, yeah.
It took us like 8 minutes to get through that sentence.
Oh yeah, dude, it's tough. I mean, because I got high expectations of quality. I mean, you can't just slough it off.
Well, it's come a long way. Natasha and I were listening to the esoteric structure of the alphabet.
That was a long time ago.
And comparing that to the newer stuff, and it's just fucking night and day.
Well, that one is impossible to narrate too. It's just
the
all
esoteric?
Yeah, because it's all, talking about vowel sounds and stuff that's
But you're still just reading then.
Yeah.
Now you're narrating.
Yeah.
There's some style.
Well, I mean, I did.
Now you tried a fiction.
I know. I tried a fiction once. So we'll see what it sounds like. See what it sounds like.
I might play a little highlight reel of your fiction.
Oh my god, this is embarrassing. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the content.
Hear the what did you call it? You're like, I didn't do voices. I did expressions. I can't wait. This is like Christmas.
No. Like, see, this is not fair. We got to keep it away from. I told you to just do. You got to test
a bad one.
You have to do quality control first before you do anything with it, dude. You can't
be like a make fun of you. I just want to share some of your
It's going to be that, though, dude. It's going to be that. You can't... Look, we just had a confidential chat, and now you're bringing it up.
What confidential chat?
About... I told you to check the quality and all this stuff. This was before we started recording, and now all of a sudden you're going to put it out and...
Well, we're going to release it.
Well, after you double check it all, like you have to.
I have the utmost confidence.
Oh my god!
I have the utmost confidence in your ability to narrate at this point.
I don't believe you.
I mean, I'm excited for the fiction. I'm excited. Can you give us an example? No,
we're just gonna. I've got enough content for this intro. I can't get
next week.
Maybe.
Oh yes.
I can't. We got to keep it separate.
I couldn't imagine.
We have to keep it separate. If you want audiobooks, you go to adultbrain.ca. This is podcasting.
There's
it's completely
no way
different.
I could
I'm not going to start
expression stuff by myself in a room. There's no way I could do it.
Please just listen to it and let me know real feedback.
I'm sure it's great
before you start putting it out there.
I'm your biggest fan.
Okay,
what do you got?
Well, I mean, this is an Astral Realm episode. I've got some feedback, some follow-up from our old guest from the Astral Dojo. This is quite a long email, but I figure it's worth going through.
The Astral Dojo?
Yeah.
What episode was that?
It was not too long ago, like maybe 5-10 episodes back. Oh, dude, now I can't find the email. Oh, this is so frustrating. I thought I had it open. Oh, might be done.
Oh, you got
there. It is. Okay, I got it.
Some time.
Okay, I got it.
Going through your favorite show, you've got something to say.
Sounds like Soul Asylum.
And they want to know if it ruined or made your day. It's
Runaway train.
All right.
Never coming back.
Okay. All right, so this is not really listener feedback because it's a past guest following up with his astral travel.
You literally said, "I have a listener feedback hero." That's why I played the jingle. I think so. I mean, I'll have to check the tape, but I left the program I was in to go into the email.
Okay, I'm sorry. So this is from the House of Heathens. We had him on not too long ago, and he says, "Wait till you hear this shit." So I'm going to read this whole email because it's applicable to our chat about the astral realms.
I have trouble fucking tracking who's on what show.
That was the regular Grimerica show. Yeah, you bet. Having spoken to me at length, I'm sure you can tell that among my astral constituents, I'm fairly conservative in my beliefs about how much power we actually possess during projections. I believe that people wishing to visit black holes are morons. I don't believe that through astral projection you can travel to the past nor look ahead to the future. In general, I don't believe the astral realm is a metaphysical free-for-all, just as the real world is bound by laws of physics. I've always asserted that the astral world is governed by some unknown set of ethereal rules, which are almost impossible to break, or require so much concentration and training, which actually our guest for this episode will provide, that they are simply unachievable in actuality. This leads me to my latest adventure as far as astral projections go. I haven't had an oh fuck type of experience in about a decade until this specific encounter. I've seen countless dead people, entities, guides, loved ones, etc. This was somehow different. Allow me to narrate from the beginning. I had just fallen asleep, and within seconds I realized I was dreaming. Without hesitation, the scene shifted slightly and the ambiance began to pop out as if it were injected into a whole new spectrum of color. The vivid color change clues you in that you've just transitioned from a run-of-the-mill dream state to an astral projection. That's interesting. Nothing strange here, that tends to happen. Immediately, I felt myself being pulled from behind. I was going backwards, so more like towed away. On this specific night, I was in an adventuring mood, so I shrugged and thought, fuck it, let's see where this takes me. Poof. I was transported to a house with a floor plan structured in almost an identical way to my grandma's from years past. My comfort zone had always been and always will be in my grandma's house. Again, this is fairly common. Inside this house, I was standing on the first floor, and immediately I could feel another presence there with me. I looked at the stairwell in the living room and saw a blonde woman, and I mean blonde, who, without looking at me, beckoned me to follow her with a simple finger wag and began walking up to the second floor. Nothing about her demeanor or energy felt threatening or intrusive. I get the metaphor blondie, I thought to myself, follow the white rabbit. Duh. As I began to trek up the stairs to dive deeper into the rabbit hole, only one idea was monopolizing my thoughts. Astral strange. Astral sex isn't uncommon, but it's rare that an entity would initiate the encounter. So to be honest, I was a bit enthralled. I walked up the steps and peered into a bedroom, but she wasn't there. When I was on my way to check the second bedroom, I spotted a staircase leading up to another level of the house. This level does not actually exist in my grandmother's house, so I assumed that the woman wanted me to walk up the staircase as well. At the top of the steps, things changed drastically. Instead of leading to a third floor, before me stood a wide open doorway that led to an apartment of some type, and I could hear several voices coming from within. As I walked through and entered the new room, I couldn't see this mysterious woman at all. Instead, I was greeted by 3 guys, all around their early 20s in age. I've been in the presence of many entities, but this was different. I think these may have been real people. The apartment wasn't like any astral environment I've traversed before. Likewise, these individuals did not have that fog of confusion that most astral souls generally possess, nor did they show signs of the smugness inherent to most spirit guides. No, gentlemen, I believe I somehow found an apartment with real people. I know this may sound confusing. Please allow me to clarify. These guys seem to be real world people in the middle of a real world party of some type. To show you how bizarre this would be, if that were the case, I have never in 500 plus projections seen a real person who was active in the real world in an awake, alert state during a projection. So I invited myself into the apartment. There were 3 gentlemen in this room, all around 22 years old. One of the guys looked up and noticed me entering stealthily. He was screwing with a TV remote at the time and seemed bothered that I had arrived. Fuck, I can't have all these people over. This place isn't big enough, he said, obviously referring to my uninvited presence. He can see me? That's all I kept thinking. That's all I'm still thinking about days later as I'm writing this letter to you. How is this possible? I've always brushed aside any notions that real-life awake individuals could see or interact with astral travelers. You can see me, I asked. He looked at me, then went straight back to ignoring me and continued as he continued playing with whatever remote he had in his hand, clearly annoyed because, in his eyes, I was an unannounced guest. Immediately, I asked him, almost insistently, where were we? When I was asking this question, I honestly had no idea what that type of response I would be greeted with in return. We're in quick, one of the other guys said. Oh my fucking God, I thought. Can they all see me? Since this member of the group was a bit more friendly, I turned to him for a follow-up. Quick? That's the city, I asked. Yeah, quick, he answered. Just then the front door, not the one I came in from, opened and in walked an Asian guy, most likely in the same age bracket. I'm assuming he was their friend and got an invite to this party because they greeted him a whole lot more kindness that they showed me when I entered. He may have lived there as he put his bags and snacks down beside the mantel. After a brief nod of acknowledgement in my direction, the Asian guy turned on the TV, not on the remote, but on the set itself. The other guy must not have known how to do it and was trying to figure it out on the remote to no avail. I got the attention of the Asian guy, again asking, where is this place? We're in quick, he said, most likely not realizing that someone had just told me that moments before. I held out my hands to form a rectangle of my index finger and thumbs, asking him to show me on my hands where quick was located on the map of the U.S. At this point, I was desperate to figure out where I had traveled to, trying my hardest to ascertain whether or not this was indeed a real location in America. Their lack of accents seemed to point to either the northeast or western parts of the U.S. Unfortunately, he was now giving his full attention to the television screen, and my point to our current location on my homemade map of the U.S. idea went to waste. I could actually hear the TV playing, although I didn't take a look at it with all the chaos going around me, and I distinctly heard a newscaster talking about Australia and how it was becoming an authoritarian government and heading to becoming a war zone with all the lockdowns and restrictions. Fuck, this may indeed be my real life. My mind reeled. If this is real life, I'm going to disappear soon. Will these kids think I was some type of ghost? The Asian guy asked one of the original three where all the other party guests were at. I'm not sure which one responded, but someone responded, there's a few people in the bedroom hanging out. Around this time, my ability to stay in this projection was waning. I walked to a doorway, which I presumed was the bedroom he spoke of. I couldn't see much, but I could make out a bed and at least one person, a girl who was laying down. I plopped down on the bed and used my hand to nudge the girl, hoping that she was the blonde I initially followed. I could tell that I touched someone, but that's the last thing that happened before I was warped back into my body. Summary, gentlemen, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been in this shit. However, I've never experienced anything like this. I was always of the belief that I was unable to interact with anyone that was awake and conscious. Could it be possible that all this time I was wrong? If that is indeed the case, did they see me as some type of ghosts, projection? They didn't seem scared. In fact, they just a tad annoyed because I was some uninvited guest at their party. Wow, I figured I would share this with you. If you know anyone who lives in or around a city named Quick, let me know. Or if you hear of a ghost story about a disappearing person at a party, well, that's mystery solved. Talk to you soon.
Did you hear anything?
Have
you heard anything?
No.
Huh. I've always I don't know how, because I've had crazy dreams like that, but I've never thought of it as maybe I was astral traveling. How do you tell the difference?
Well, he said there was that whole color shift, that color change, things became more real for him. I mean, I guess who was it that said they thought they should always be sleeping when they were astral traveling? Did that come up recently? Oh, I think it was another episode I was listening to for an upcoming
someone
guest.
else's show.
Yeah, on someone else's show. So I think you can astral travel without being asleep. So that you would be able to tell that you're astral traveling and not dreaming then for sure. But I mean, to switch between a lucid dream and astral traveling, I don't know. That's a tough one.
I feel like that's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the newscaster's never going to say that. They'll never tell us that Australia's not looking good.
What do you mean?
Well, it's not going to be the news. Then what has the news said now? Nothing.
Well, it could have been Sky News. I mean,
Does Sky News say stuff?
Yeah, they're pretty. It's amazing that they're still able to.
That they're not canceled.
Yeah, that they haven't been canceled. Yeah. But yeah, that's I don't know. That's just fascinating. It's kind of good timing for this episode about all these astral realms. I mean, was that the fourth? Like maybe because this guy, Dimitri talks about all these different levels of realms, right? Like they talk about the fourth astral realm and the fifth astral realm. There's different levels. I mean, maybe he reached a different level. In the quick. Hey, what a weird
Quick Arkansas.
Quick. Yeah, I haven't like.
I just made
Google
that up. I
searched
don't know if
it
that's real or not. All right.
So I got some feedback from the Union of the Unwanted.
So
You sent me 2 emails.
Is this listener
This is
feedback,
this is listener feedback.
Some other sort of.
But
feedback.
before I forget, no. Before I get to move to that, I want to talk about another past guest, Blaise Kennedy. Do you remember?
Blaise,
we had him on.
I liked Blaise.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He's from BC, actually, pretty close by to us. Probably only like 5-6 hour drive. But he says, and I'll put a link. What?
More like 4.
And I'll put a link to the show notes in this, but he says, hey guys, I'm running a free 5-day masterclass, fancy name for a series of Zoom sessions on the transformation of consciousness. The 5 Zoom sessions will run from October 27th to 31st. Perhaps you or some of your membership would be interested. I'm putting out some email and social media content in the next week. Let me know if I can tag you to help promote this. So I will put his Instagram or his website or whatever in the show notes. And he's been on a couple other shows since he was on ours. And I think his work is fascinating.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that episode with Blaise. Yeah, I agree.
How to increase awareness, I think, was his main thing.
Is that what we were talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I forget, but I know I enjoyed it.
So that email was quite long that I read. I don't know if I have a whole project operation to get into too.
You want to do a wapo,
and a couple, and I got the listener email, listener feedback on, or we can save that maybe for, why don't we save that for next week?
Okay, and do the oppo now?
Yeah, I'll do the oppo and save the listeners stuff.
What's that noise? Looks military to me, definitely military, probably classified too.
Dishfire, Prism, Sentry Eagle, Sigma, Mannequin, Artichoke, MK Ultra.
I wonder if I can
Operation
export
Project.
this board somehow
Yeah, maybe.
onto the iPad.
So anyways, this I got to admit, I did do this already, probably like maybe 6 months or a year ago, but it's worth sort of repeating. And I'm going to read from an article about it, not just from the actual declassification of the Department of the Army, U.S. Army Operational Group, Intelligence and Security Command, analysis and assessment of the gateway process.
Star Gateway?
The astral projection gateway process from the Monroe Institute.
Oh,
this is like the arm. This is the declassified.
Is this like Russell Targ and those guys?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's a good movie about that. Was that Men Hysteric Goats?
Okay, so this is exactly where I'm going with this. So this is from SergioMontiero.medium.com, and this is the CIA's Gateway Process Declassified, Part 1. And he says, at the beginning of 2009, the comedy The Men Who Stare at Goats, there is a disclaimer that some of the plot elements are based on real events. It doesn't say which, but some new information about a secret CIA program where it was declassified last year. So in the film, soldiers were selected to be part of this military program examining whether it was possible to affect the physical world with thought forms. They would, as the film title states, stare at goats while willing for the animals' hearts to stop. While this sounds fantastical, quantum theory does say that the waves of probability can be affected by the act of observation. Whether to be extreme of stopping a poor goat's heart or remote viewing something from a great distance is anyone's guess. What is true is that the CIA had indeed thought this feasible enough to devote resources to studying it. So this is the analysis and the assessment of the gateway process. And it was declassified last year. And I highly suggest you read it. I'll include links below. And he's got a quote here from one of the scientists. This is occurring at a very long wavelength of about 40,000 kilometers, or just about the perimeter of the planet. In other words, the signal from the movement of our bodies will go around the world in about 1/7 of a second through the electrostatic field which we are embedded. Such a long wavelength knows no obstacles, and its strength does not attenuate much over long distances. Naturally, it will go through just about anything: metal, concrete, water, and the fields making up our bodies. It is also the ideal medium for conveying a telepathic signal. That's from Itzhak Bentov, a scientist who worked on the CIA's Gateway process. The TLDR for this is the Gateway process was a meditation lesson that taught humans to harness their own electromagnetic energy waves, which come from their body. It also taught them how to control brain waves and use them to essentially detach from time and space. As the body is turned into a coherent oscillator vibrating in harmony with the surrounding electrostatic medium, the specific exercises included in the Gateway process allow the participant to build up the energy field surrounding their body, presumably by using energy from the Earth's resonant field, the same resonant field that was the basis for much of Tesla's work, which the body then entrains because of its ability to resonate with it. This is big. Aside from the obvious question of what nefarious purpose the CIA was hoping to achieve with this process, it's hard to miss the deduction of what detaching from time and space means. Fourth dimensional travel with all that implies, heaven, afterlife, a different dimension. Two things make me believe this document is detailing a real process. One is that it was found on the official CIA website. The other is an email from Podesta, from that Podesta hack during the 2016 election. In one email, a former astronaut writes to Podesta, this is interesting, because the war in space race is heating up, I felt you should be aware of several factors as you and I schedule our Skype talk. Remember, our non-violent ETI from the contiguous universe are helping us bring 0-point energy to Earth. Oh, fuck. What?
Was this in the Podesta leaks?
Yeah. The choice of words there is interesting. I said contiguous. Oh, it is. See, he gets it wrong here. He says contingent. A contingent universe doesn't suggest a great distance through space, but a different dimension altogether. So, I mean, I went through some of this actual document last time, so I'll just briefly go through it. But this is from June 1983, and it talks about, this is the beginning. You tasked me to provide an assessment of the Gateway experience in terms of its mechanics and ultimate practicality. It soon, as I set out to fulfill this task, it soon became clear in order to assess the validity and practicality of the process, I needed to do enough supporting research and analysis to fully understand how and why the process works. Frankly, sir, that proved to be an extremely involved and difficult business. Initially, based on our conversations with a physician who took the Gateway training with me, I had recourse to the biomedical models developed by Itzhak Bentov to obtain information concerning the physical aspect of the process. And it talks about Niels Bohr in here and his quote saying, "You are not thinking, you are merely being logical. The physics of altered human consciousness details with some conceptualizations that are not easily grasped or visualized exclusively in the context of ordinary left brain linear thinking." It says, the right brain intuitive insight to achieve a complete, comfortable grasp of the concepts involved. Nevertheless, once this is done, I am confident that their construction and application will stand up to the test of rational critique. So he goes, I mean, this gets really interesting how they talk about the mechanics that underlie the basic operation of related methods such as hypnosis, transcendental meditation, and biofeedback. And they get into all those subjects. They talk about the Kundalini psychosis or transcendence, talk about acoustical waves are the result of altered rhythm of heart sounds, which are occasionally occasioned by prolonged practice of meditation and which set up sympathetic vibrations in the walls of the fluid-filled cavities, which comprise the third and lateral ventricles of the brain. In addition, according to Bentov, the states of bliss described by those whose Kundalini symptoms have completed the full loop along the hemispheres may be explained as self-stimulation of the pleasure centers of the brain caused by circulation of a current along the sensory cortex.
Ooh, I know how to do that.
And then they get into like the gateway and the hemisync process, lamp versus lasers, frequency following responses, the role of resonance, brain stimulation, energy entrainment, consciousness and energy, stalking the wild pendulum, holograms. I should narrate this, actually. We should put this out on audio. I think we can. It's a declassified government document.
We can try.
We should put it out on. We should just publish it on audio,
like as a book or
as a book. The part encodes the consciousness matrix. I mean, this is fascinating because this is a full report from the Department of the Army Intelligence or whatever it was that I read earlier. They talk about the brain in phase, the evaluation, self-cognition. I mean, it gets into time and space dimension, intervening. I mean, this is like from the early 80s, dude.
Send it to me and I'll check and see if we can publish it.
Yeah.
Without going to jail. I don't want to go to Guantanamo.
No. I'm pretty sure we can. I looked it up that if it's government stuff that's open to the public, I think you can.
Of course, when we talk about those books, we're talking about all our books over. Are you done?
Yeah.
Our books over at adultbrain.ca.
I'll put a link in the show notes too.
Where we've got the swipe right for those show notes, or left, or whatever it is. Most of the apps, it's a swipe now. I know that.
What are you talking about?
Like to get into the show notes if I'm listening to a podcast.
Oh.
I just like swipe right or left.
Oh, okay.
And like
usually
one way will be
info. Sometimes
one
there's
side
an info
will be
button.
show notes, and the other side will be like little special settings, bass boost, things like that. Adultbrain.ca if you want to get on those audiobooks. This one's on there. Of course, we got another one, Metal, coming out right away. The Ancient Religion of the Chinese is out and for sale. Through the Magic Door, Isis Unveiled, Volume 1. All of the secret doctrines, the secret teachings of all ages. Unabomber Manifesto. I mean, you name it. There's a ton of great titles over there. If you just head over to Audible or iTunes or wherever you get your audiobooks and type in Graham Dunlop or Grimerica or Adult Brain, any of those things should pop up the list of books we've done. Or you can do it through if you go through the Adult Brain site, it'll only navigate to Audible because that's where 95% of the sales go through. We should redo that site one day, I guess. But yeah, get those audiobooks. Great way to support the show. Supporting the show is a great way to support the show too. Over at grimerica.ca/support. Sign up for a monthly, make a one-time donation. We help keep Graham not homeless. This is his gig now. This is what Graham does. I mean, obviously he's been doing some part-time painting. That's been very rigorous.
It was, dude. It was tough, man. I was getting dizzy. I could only do like a couple hours, 4 hours, and that was because of the COVID, obviously.
Yeah. And the obesity. You said it, not me. I would never have said such a thing. I've always referred to you as huscular. We have a shirt. Grimerica.ca/swag. If you feel like you're a little huscular, maybe you're that cross between husky and muscular, grab yourself a huscular shirt. There's a bunch of other great shirts over there too. I haven't put up.
I've been called Beefcake before.
You have, but there was a running thing where you're a beefcake. This is what I'm talking about. These are the glory days of Graham Dunlop and Grimerica.
This is before the obesity kicked
Beefcake. Yeah, Graham Beefcake Dunlop. Oh man, we could make a rap song out of all your little outtakes. Beefcake. So grab that. Support the show. We can't do it without you. Of course, we're gonna get to a quote here in a minute, but we're also gonna play. You don't have a quote this week?
No. That's right. I had all this other stuff.
550 episodes in a row and just nothing. No quote this week. So we'll wrap it up with this. We're gonna have the Mark Fiorentino best of here for 5 or 6 minutes before we jump into the interview. If you want to catch this, you can catch it over on Rockfin, or we also interviewed it. So first we interviewed him on Grimerica Out Loud. So there's a regular podcast of that. If you're a Plus member or if you want to sign up for Plus, there's a 2-hour podcast with him. And then over on our Rockfin premium video content, we've got the presentation
More of a visual presentation.
Yeah, where he kind of put some visuals to that, a bit of a slideshow presentation. That's up this weekend as well. Or you can go listen to the podcast, decide if you want to watch the video. Either way, support the show. We can't do this without you. We are, transitioning into this being our livelihoods. So it's more important than ever. We need the support more than ever. The world's a little weirder than ever. We're trying to grow. grimerica.ca/support. Other than that, enjoy this chat. It's a good one. It's, oh, look who's texting me. Jesus. Oh, it's Paul. Paul from Jasper. Jasper Paul. So yeah, enjoy the chat with who is it again?
Dimitri Moraitis.
Oh yeah, the DMT. I use Dimitri as my DMT.
Oh, do you?
Code word.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
You just capitalize the D, the M, and the T.
Take away the vowels and.
Oh, I never thought about that. No, then there's still an
DMTR,
R.
yeah.
Ooh, what's that? That's
know.
like fucking
Redux.
This sounds like fucking like a weird off-brand of techno psychedelics.
DMTR.
Yeah. All right, guys, enjoy the chat with Dimitri.
All right, here we go. The origin of mass, gravity, and inertia. This is basically the unified field theory, as I'm going to discuss the origin of gravity, mass, and inertia, which basically is all the same thing. They come from the same mechanical process. And then after that, once we understand how gravity is formed, we're going to discuss anti-gravity. There is only one thing that physically exists. That thing is the ether or space, the space-time continuum, whatever you want to call it. That is the only thing. Everything is made and built from that object. The ether is a quasi-elastic solid. It is the fundamental field. All things that we observe are simply different manifestations of this real physical object, but he didn't have the mechanical link. We're going to get that today. I'm going to demonstrate it for you. I'm going to show you how it works, and it's going to make perfect sense, and it's going to confirm Einstein's principle of equivalence, that acceleration and gravity are the same thing. This is what's going on inside of the proton and the neutron. And this was discovered by a lady who had a near-death experience, and she calls this thing the pattern. And I went searching for it because I had a suspicion that if the Father, the Creator, wanted us to know about it, he would send a message back through an NDE person. So how I got this idea to do this, it's a long story in itself. It's in the book. This is the basic mechanism. This is where I got the idea from the slip wave. I got it from particles. It's a similar thing that the Wright brothers did, to develop the airplane. They watched nature. They watched birds. Leonardo da Vinci, the same thing. Noticed the wing structures and such, and they started building aircraft with wings and shapes. You look at nature to find the solution. I looked at nature to find the same solution. I said, hey, aliens are getting here and they're not using rockets. And when we see their spaceships, there's not jet flames coming out of them. There's nothing coming out. They're using a spatial bias field. And the only thing we really have to work with is magnetism. The accelerated motion of unbalanced fundamental charges causes gravity, mass, inertia. The pattern to be recognized. All electromagnetic particles have mass except photons. This is my happiest thought. Fundamental balanced charges, such as the photon, always move in a non-accelerated linear motion. I remember the day I realized this. This is the day I realized how mass was formed myself. They analyzed pictures of the Belgian Triangle taken with ordinary film back in the 80s. When they analyzed the film, the emulsion itself, the material that was in the emulsion was magnetized. It takes a hell of a strong magnetic field and they were at, I don't know how many yards away from that UFO, but it still affected the magnetic structure of the film, the emulsion. Electromagnets would be even better because you could just turn them on and off. You don't have to spin the whole thing. Make it a rotating magnetic field. The faster this rotates, the stronger the magnetic field, the more gravity shielding you're going to see at the weight here. And basically this thing is going to float up, and this is going to go down like the scale is going right here. It's going to be, this will become lighter, and this will remain the same. It will, of course, be heavier than though it was balanced before, but with the rotating magnetic field underneath this object, it will shield from the gravity, and it will become lighter. That's the kind of experiment we just need to, so that we can start figuring out how much magnetic field strength we need and how much rotation we need to get the effects that we want. We want to be able to propel the ship, and we want to be able to make it weightless. This equation here is incredibly important. Maybe more important than E equals mc squared. C, the speed of light, equals 1 over the square root of permittivity times permeability. When you use a strong magnetic field and you stretch space, you pull it apart, these two numbers drop. If you drop them to 0, which has been done, Harvard creates a material that lets light go infinitely fast.
All right, we've got an exciting episode tonight. We've got Dimitri Moraitis with us. He's the author, the co-author as well, of Heaven and Your Spiritual Evolution, A Mystic's Guide to the Afterlife and Reaching Your Highest Potential. Fantastic book. It's great to have you on and chat about it. Thanks for joining us, Dimitri.
Well, thanks for having me on your show. It's a delight.
Yeah, it's really interesting timing. I've been talking to some people about mystics and adepts training in the astral realm, and then I was reading. I'm thinking, goodness. I wonder if it's from this book, like that they were talking about it. But it's very interesting. Book. We've been reading some of Blavatsky's stuff as well recently, so it kind of fits in. It kind of fits in with. It's very interesting. A lot of the learning that we've been doing here. So I mean, I guess maybe let's start with the basic question of like, why did you decide to write this book? To
write a book, yeah. Well, it's actually part of a series of books that we've written on the 7 spiritual arts, and this one is based, like you say, on this idea that there is a great beyond. And there are realms in the spiritual world, and we're kind of part of those realms now. And a lot of our work is based on what Barbara has experienced, through her clairvoyant experiences of actually being in these realms. We actually are familiar with them. We kind of came from them before we were born, and we're connected to them now. We're going to go home to them again. So, we kind of think of the other side as a place when we die, but it really is connected to our life now. And interesting, you're having discussions about the astral worlds. Those are very important realms. They're literally the next realm from here. When we go from here, we're going into those astral realms. So it might be a good idea to learn about them now.
Yeah. So how do we be, because you were mentioning before we started recording, like we were talking about, the astral realm and how you might be learning from that realm already, or you might be going there at night, or you might be going there and not really being fully aware or realizing it.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. One of the key notes of the whole book. Since we came from those spiritual worlds, we're part of them now. Teilhard de Chardin said, we're not physical beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. We're in this physical world, but we're spiritual. So we've always been part of those worlds. We're going back to them, but we're connected to them now. Now, there's several ways we're connected to them now. One is through inspiration, which we can talk about a little later, but you hit on a very important note about sleep. I don't know if this is going to sound strange or surprising to some, but often when we sleep, yes, our physical body's at rest, our mind is at rest, but our soul can be quite active. And many times we're closer to the spiritual worlds at night while we sleep. And there are times periodically, we may not bring any memory of this, where we're literally taken into those realms to kind of keep us connected to those worlds. And they also help us with important decisions that we're making, or if we're very sick and need healing. The idea is we're supported throughout our whole journey here. It may not feel like it at times, but we are.
So I guess one of my main questions, of course, is how do we, if we want to bring more awareness to being in these realms, How are some of the ways that we would go about doing that? Because, it seems very ambiguous to people, right? I mean, all these astral realms, these heavenly realms. I mean, you guys go through all the different sort of not necessarily layers, but what would you call it? I guess dimensions. Yeah.
No, the Bible talks about my Father's house are many mansions. What many people don't realize is the other side isn't one place; it's many places. There are many dimensions, and there are real places that you can actually be part of and visit. But there are also states of consciousness. Earth is kind of a melting pot. You can have, let's say, a Mahatma Gandhi standing next to an Adolf Hitler, and they could be physically in the same room, even though their vibrations may be vastly different. But you wouldn't find that quite as much on the other side. You're going to find yourself in a spiritual realm, not necessarily with people like you, but people with similar vibration. And as far as connecting with them, well, one of the basic things, and this is for any aspect of the spiritual life, is meditation. Your ability to start meditating, which it's sort of you taking a pause from the activities of life to go to the inner part of you and commune with that inner part of you, get that inspiration you need, and then go back into active life and put it into use. So we recommend in all our training classes, everything we do, meditate daily. Make it a daily part of your life, and don't make it, at the end of the day when you're exhausted. Do it when you're in full alert, and in a sense, build your day around it. And you'll notice everything is kind of flowing better, and you will be more in touch with inspiration.
Right. And then what kind of meditation are we talking about here?
Well, there are many different kinds. The kind that we practice is called meditating with divine light. So what we do is we work a lot with our auric field. So the aura, some people think, auras are like green, I'm blue, you're green, someone else is pink. No, we're multifaceted. And the energy of your aura is literally fueling your evolution. And you can call in more of that power. So let's say I don't have a lot of confidence right now. Maybe I have to ask for a promotion at my job or something. And I don't have the guts to go in there and ask for it. In the aura, confidence comes through as this brilliant gold light. So you can literally meditate, ask that gold light to come into your aura. You still have to go there and ask for the raise, but you'll notice you may have more confidence because the energy of that confidence is more part of you.
And actually, you do have some of those meditations in the back of the book, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I gotta say, if I had to pick an aura for you right now, it would be gold.
Well, I guess I'm kind of wearing a little yellow.
That's Darren's first aura reading ever.
There we go. Sounds great.
Am I hired? Did I get the job?
You guys do mention it's very non-denominational, right? It's very non-dogmatic. It's
right.
because you do talk about heaven, and you do talk about some of the ancient religions and the right. ancient philosophies, but it's not like it seems very open to non-dogmatic principles, I guess.
Well, you're talking a little bit about Blavatsky. I love her quote, "There's no religion higher than truth."
Yeah.
And we have to look at religions as like different facets of a same jewel. One practice may emphasize one thing, another, but they're really, if you take away kind of the maybe institutional part of it and just look at the spirit of it, they're all part of the same picture, and they're all really aiming for the same thing, but a different way of doing it. So, some people think, heaven is a religious topic, but it's not. Heaven is a human potential topic, and it's a spiritual topic. As our first chapter in the book says, you don't go to heaven, you grow to heaven. It's an evolutionary process. So I'm a good boy, I'm going to go to heaven. I'm a bad boy, I'm going to go somewhere else. It's not really like that. It's more like attracting like. So right now we're all vibrating at a certain level in our auric energy. If I had to transition today, if I went home today, I'd take the light I have today, not yesterday, not tomorrow, and that would determine where I go. So I'd find a place there that's corresponding to that. So we say the most important thing you can do on this earth is earn light.
Thus,
you're going to take that with you. You're not going to take your fame, your fortune, but you are going to take your light.
Thus, all the religions that tell you to live a good life or whatever, right?
Exactly.
Because it's every day. If you live that life, then you're taking that with you.
Absolutely. You know, it's a funny thing. They say nobody likes an egotist, but the spiritual egotist is worst of all. You know, where you think, oh, because I know a few things, I'm better than other people. There's some people that don't even use the word spiritual, but they're living a more spiritual life than others that, you know, say they're spiritual or religious. You know, the person that goes to church on Sunday, cheating their partner on Monday, because of showing up doesn't mean they're living it. You know?
So the ancients, to me, like you talk a little bit about the mystery schools in there and some of the ancient religions, and they seem to be obsessed with death and or astral travel or out of like this metaphysical these metaphysical realms. So I feel like they knew a lot more than we give them credit for when it comes to this type of stuff.
Yeah. Well, you know, there was a day when the inner mystical tradition, the mystery schools, that sounds like you've been studying, they were honored and revered. They were part of society. If you were in a mystery school in those days, it's kind of like saying, oh, you were a top Navy SEAL. You know, not everybody was going to do it, but it was highly respected. Interesting, even the discussion we're having now, it wasn't that long ago. The only way you would have had that discussion is if you were in a mystery school or an ashram. But today, the interest has exploded because there's more and more people ready. So how amazing it is that we can be talking like this, broadcasting it on such a really an esoteric topic. I mean, it says what a remarkable time we live in.
It is. It's the only time when us profane are able to learn what the initiates learned.
Exactly. The time has come, as the inspiration has been telling us. There's never been a better time to grow spiritually than today. And if there's a theme of the book, it's, you know, I'm sure many people listening to your show have had some type of a spiritual prompting. And that's not accidental. That's the divine knocking on your door, and answer the call. This is, if anything, make your spiritual life a higher priority in your life, and every part of your life is going to blossom, not just that one.
Yeah. Before I forget to ask this question, it's this conversation I was having with somebody that it seemed to click to me that there's these super smart, well-traveled, they know many languages. These people in our past 500 to, let's say, 1,500 years ago. And she was mentioning that, and you mentioned it in your book. I don't know if you actually show these examples, but that there's temples, there's in the astral realms that you can go to. And that some of these adepts have been spending years in the astral realm training, and it's only taken hours out of their physical life. And it made me realize that some of these people, they like even Paracelsus or these people know all these different languages and are well-traveled, and they know alchemy and physics and astronomy. And I mean, how do you think there's a real case to be made for people learning?
Well, there is a lot of training that goes in. You really are jumping into the deep end of the pool here, are you? That there are these training centers in the inner worlds. The other side has a lot to do with training, because we have to think of Earth like a school. So from the metaphysical perspective, we come here essentially as students, even if we don't think of it that way. And the inner worlds are sort of the headquarters, the training centers where a lot of this area is coordinated. And sometimes we go there for special activities. For example, one of the things you notice in the book, we had to bring up the subject of reincarnation, that no matter how good a life you live, one time is simply not enough. You got to think of a lifetime like grades in school. You know, I could score straight A's in first grade, but I'm not ready for graduate school yet. So each lifetime we're learning more. We have to reincarnate. And a very interesting thing we put in the book, for example, let's say a couple's getting ready to bear children or have a child. they will be taken to the inner worlds, believe it or not, to meet the soul that's going to be their new son or daughter. And there's an agreement on the other side. Okay, you're going to be mom, you're going to be my dad, and I'm going to be your son or daughter. So you actually, even though we don't remember it when it starts to happen, that there is an inner thing, because it's not just a baby being born. There's a soul in that body, and there's a plan. So you can't say you didn't choose your parents, and you can't say you didn't choose your kids, because you did.
Does anyone remember?
Oh yeah. Well, again, it's funny. I know I want to talk a little bit about Barbara tonight. She actually does bring back memory of the souls of her two children coming in saying, "We want you to be our mother." That must have been a pretty wild experience, to go through that, but sometimes it can be brought in. Let me just talk a moment about Barbara, because her skills are so phenomenal. 3 years old, she was starting to see auras. And this is in the Depression era. No one was talking about things like that. Her father, a Greek Orthodox priest. He also used to build churches, so they would travel all over the country on almost next to nothing. 6 kids the mom had to raise. But when she was 11, she started getting her first training from someone that could also see the aura. Many years later, when they moved to California, she got another training from another advanced mystic to teach, to prepare her to teach. So this was a very slow, gradual process. And when I started with her many years ago, I started as a student, and I was very happy with that. But I didn't realize she was slowly grooming me to eventually, carry this torch and continue the teaching work. But it's been very gradual. Nothing's happened like my leapfrog. The only leapfrog was my own spiritual awakening. I came to LA, California, to pursue a career in film and television, and things were going pretty good. And I was having these sort of, I didn't even know what the word metaphysics was at that point. I wasn't against it. I just didn't know what it was. But I was having what I call these inspirational moments, kind of heightened awareness, insights, clarity. They were beautiful, but they kind of came and went without me controlling anything. Eventually, they became so strong, it led to my awakening. And again, I still didn't have a name for it. And then when I realized it was metaphysics, I couldn't stop, studying and researching and doing everything I could. Fortunately, a year later, I met Barbara at a dinner party. My first meditation was with her. And then I just started pouring out. I had so much on my mind. I thought it was a nice conversation. She says I was interrogating her, but eventually I realized, oh my God, the woman's talking from experience. This is the one I have to study with. And that kind of got the whole road going. So we all come from our own place with this. But again, where they say follow your bliss, when you follow the things that excite you the most, even though there may be twists and turns in the road, it'll eventually lead you where you need to go.
So did you end up forgetting the whole Hollywood movies, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
did you lose interest in all that at all, or?
Oh, I really loved it. I thought it was, but this was like, I had to do this, and at first I thought I could do the two together, but I like to joke, movies is a jealous mistress. She wants all of you. And, so it started. And when I started saying what I was interested in, some of my film buddies thought I lost my mind. So it wasn't gelling together. And then I realized, now this isn't for everybody, by the way, because I could have had a career in film and personally pursued my spiritual interests, but it was becoming clear my career was supposed to be in metaphysics. So that was really the change. Actually, there's a great story that Barbara tells about. She was there in the golden age of Hollywood, and she was friends with like Cecil B. DeMille, the big filmmaker. And when she went to his set and saw him for the first time, she saw immediately he had the mystic sight, and he saw it in her. And that's not in any of his biographies. And they became like instant friends. And, look at his subjects like, the 10 Commandments. I know today we think, oh, it's a little dated. But at the time, that movie, people literally wrote to him saying, thank you. I found my spiritual life again. I found God again.
Wow.
So we all express it in different ways. It doesn't have to be as a teacher, but the goal is to bring that spirit power, whatever you have, into everything you do.
Wow, that's fascinating. And now you teach, just to continue on with that vein, you have a place in Encinita where you teach classes.
Right.
And
Right.
do you want to talk about that?
We're global, so you can join online. We were doing video long before the Zoom era started, where everybody realized, hey, I can do a conference call. But we also have an in-person training center as well. We do what we call sort of blended learning. We can be in person and online. And, training in metaphysics, I say it's a little bit like learning a musical instrument or learning a language. It takes time. You don't get good at it overnight. So there are these weekly classes. It started with Barbara doing them many years ago. And then we had like this encyclopedia of notes. And eventually we started to, write the books and write the training manuals and organize the teachings. And so now we have these different levels of training. And I think one of the best thing about it also is just the people. You're working with such wonderful people and they want to better their lives. I mean, there aren't that many professions where that's the end goal, It
seems to me like the people that are into metaphysics, they're more grounded than you would think. And they're take personal accountability and they want to improve. They want to look at themselves. They want to grow.
Yeah, they're taking more. And I think there's a blossoming, there's a maturity in the whole field. When Barbara started, everything was like psychic. They thought she was a psychic and everything. So they were kind of caught by the phenomenal stuff a bit, but now I think, like you're saying, it's more mature now. It's also more mainstream. I mean, you got yoga in grade school now. I mean, could you imagine that even 20 years ago? Yeah.
So I do have to ask about the Blavatsky and the Theosophical Society. I mean, they seem to be warning against any of this kind of opening yourself up, even yoga. I mean, even yoga, they were like warning against yoga unless you were an adept or unless you were initiated. Like, be careful about any kind of astral travel, any kind of connection with the divine. I mean, how do you guys approach that?
Maybe differentiator. Yeah, actually, boy, you really have an interesting question here. So we were sharing, the other side has many dimensions to it. Not all of them are beautiful. Okay. Not all of them are enlightening. Not all of them are opening you up to the divine life. So actually, interesting enough, you mentioned a lot the astral. There's some very developed, wonderful places in the astral, but there are also some very primitive, undeveloped levels in the astral. So what you really want to do is get your inspiration from beyond the astral. You want to get it from the heavenly. So the psychic part of you is connected to the astral. But the problem with that is the psychic part of you is really no more developed than you. And it's not really going up, it's sort of going sideways. So what they're trying to say is don't get caught in the psychic belt. Barbara used to say, why are you stopping at the 6th floor when you can go to the penthouse? You want to go to the divine source. It's a little harder to reach that source, maybe not as sensational at first, but that's where you're going to get the real answers. Because, in the book, we share with you some of the dangers of the psychic stuff and how you can pull from the lower and not even realize that's what's happening. So there is a cautionary tale here. Not everything labeled spiritual is in fact spiritual or in fact good for you. There's false prophets in there's con people in every field and they're false prophets. And especially if someone smells money or advantage, they may jump on it and try to take advantage of people that don't quite understand.
And part of the practice must be to enhance discernment.
Absolutely. That's the whole key. But isn't that in everything? Look at today. Aren't we in a process of having to discern almost anything right now? Yeah. We're challenging just about everything at this moment.
Yeah.
But it is a point to say, you're right. Discerning is a choice, right? You have to, here's the fool's gold. Here's the shiny stuff that's fool's gold. Here's the real McCoy. You have to learn the difference between the two. And sometimes you'll make a mistake, but you'll learn from the mistake. Okay, I'm not buying that stuff again. That's not the real stuff. This is the real stuff. So we will make mistakes. There's nothing wrong. Who gets through school without making a mistake? But we want to learn from them. We want to learn from those mistakes.
What about people that have troubles with attacks from those realms that maybe they don't even realize they're coming from those realms, but maybe it's sleep paralysis type stuff, demonic entities or shadow people? Like, because you mentioned free will, like whenever free will comes up, I think, well, these people don't choose to be attacked by these entities, you know?
No. I mean, no one says, hey, I invite the entities into, no, they don't do that, obviously. But two things very interesting. Number one of the spiritual laws, because, you know, our first book is all on the aura, change your aura, change your life, is nothing or no one can enter your aura unless somewhere you're permitting it to happen. There has to be an open door somewhere. Like
the vampire being invited in kind of thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, in other words, if I open up to anger and hatred and, you know, those are lower emotional energies. And if I'm not careful, that can trigger, you know, an invitation to an unpleasant energy. The other thing is there is such a thing as spiritual protection, where you can put golden light around you. You want to keep your mind and heart and consciousness in a strong place. As a matter of fact, we recommend putting the light around your bed at night before you sleep. Because, yes, when you're sleeping, you're kind of opening up, you're relaxing. And, yeah, if there's something that's not the greatest thing nearby, you don't want to accidentally, you know, connect into it.
That's good. So there's some protection things you can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, we learn to protect ourselves a little bit, right, when we go on life. And unfortunately, there's some psychic things we have to be careful of as well.
Yeah. Darren, do you got any questions at all? Or?
No, you go ahead.
Well, I mean, let's
taking the load here.
I mean, let's get into some of these realms are very interesting because they, you know, you can get into the, like I said, the learning academies in a way, temples, right. And all this kind of stuff. I mean,
right. Well, first of all, I think as we say, you know, we all have a glorious destiny. I mean, if anyone thinks their life is worthless or it's all hopeless, or, you know, sometimes we fall into these despondent states, and that's just our own, you know, our own feeling of things. Really, the thing we have to all realize first is we're not our body, we're not our mind, we're not even the light of our aura. We're this immortal spark of life that we call the soul. And the soul is precious and it's divine. And it came from, you know, the highest celestial kingdom. Now, it was immersed, like literally planting a seed in the ground. It was immersed in creation so that seed could grow. So all that we're going through now is really part of a growing process. And as we go through these planes, you know, if I ask 20 people now that are spiritually minded, what does it mean to grow spiritually? I guarantee you I get 20 different answers. But from the metaphysical perspective and what we're sharing in the book, growth has a very specific definition. It's literally growing through these various dimensions of life. So we are all destined for heaven. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And each dimension has its own lessons. Now, the beauty is what you're saying is these lessons are things we're dealing with now. For example, the Astral Worlds. One of the basic lessons of the Astral Worlds is to master your desire nature. What do you desire?
How many go-arounds does it take? Does that depend on how well you learn the lessons? Do some people take longer than others? It's
interesting. The arc, and I know this is going to sound like a big number when I first share it, but the arc from our first steps in clay feet when we were sort of in the caveman days to reaching that pinnacle is about 800 incarnations.
Wow.
Some do it a little bit sooner, like you say. Some are just a little bit more on the ball. Some take a little longer. They're a little bit more of the stragglers because we do have free will and we can cooperate with the plan, or we can say, forget about it, you know. But eventually we realize life is a lot more fun when we cooperate with the plan. It's just like if I'm jumping in the water and I'm splashing around and I can't swim, after a while I'm going to get bored with that. I better just learn the laws of the water so I can swim. You know, and that's really what the higher life is all about.
So in the 40, 50,000 year range.
Well, how long? Again, that, you know, remember, there's also time on the other side. So you tend to spend, let's say if I had 100 years on this life, again, this is, I don't want to, you know, it can definitely vary, but you could spend 100 years on the other side.
in between.
You don't spend thousands because you'd lose touch with Earth. Now, the only time you come back quickly is if you really did die prematurely. You know, some people, it's their karmic destiny to die young. Other times it doesn't happen. So let's say after World War II and all the deaths and all that happened there, a lot of people reincarnated really quick. I think there's an interesting book that came out about that where people were remembering, you know, some pretty grim things that were happening. These were little kids talking about this. And so they must have been remembering something. So they come back quickly because they didn't have the chance to complete, you know, what they had started. So it really depends on what they call your karmic chart. So we do come in with unfinished business. We do have, our talents are not accidental. Our weaknesses are not accidental. You're supposed to accentuate the positive, like the song, eliminate the negative. You know, if some people come in with a great, you know, voice or something like that, but they don't pursue it, that's kind of a shame because that didn't come out of nowhere. You know, doesn't mean you have to be a full-fledged opera singer, but you should do something with your talent.
What about the this is going to be a difficult question. The elite, the initiated, the people that have learned how to recognize past lives and move forward in maybe even in bloodlines, but move forward in these secret societies, let's say, that are able to bring their past with them to help control the world or to help. You know, I do feel like that's a possibility right now.
Oh, there's a lot of those people around now, you know. So interesting you mentioned those societies. Again, in the ancient days, the centers were well known, but during, especially Europe, in the period of time where that kind of thing wasn't accepted, the societies had to be kind of secret, but they were still very influential in politics and business and
culture.
You could say, you know, for example, Europe probably wouldn't have had its golden age without those societies, you know, that were guiding things in the background. So those were developed souls that came in to carry major missions, and who knows some of the good that they did, you know, and some of them are very famous. You know, it's funny, you can have a very advanced soul, but they may not know their own spiritual status. So, for example, in Abraham Lincoln, the Higher shared, was a heavenly soul that came in. But he did not come in with the awareness of that status because it probably would have interfered. I couldn't imagine being fully awakened and being involved in all that political environment of that day. He probably would have lost his mind. He almost did anyway, you know. But it was able to look at what, I mean, this was such a milestone, not just for the United States, but for humanity. I mean, legalized slavery was a done deal after that era. You know, so that was a major mission. Same with something like an Albert Einstein, you know. But then you have others that come in, you know, a Buddha or something like that, that fully awakened, you know, gets fully awakened and is at high advance. And yes, they could start a world movement as he did, you know. But even he had to go through his learning experience, right? He wasn't like just automatically born like that. He had to go through the whole process.
Well, what about darker forces? Let's say, is there a risk that they are coming in as well and taking over things as they can? I mean, you mean dark energy, dark force?
Well, what? Wow,
evil, good, and evil. I guess. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. You can call it evil.
Well, there is evil. I hate to say there is evil influence. I don't think we have to. It's not a surprise to know there is evil influence in the world. But what can happen is some of these advanced souls can get tempted. You know, they can get pulled off the path, especially when they're not fully yet established. They can get seduced. It was very interesting. I don't know whether it was seduced by the dark, but Max Heindel, when he started his leadership in the Rosicrucians, the Holy Ones came in from the other side, and they said, we were preparing somebody else, but he failed his tests. So we're coming to you now.
Wow. Well,
so it's not a guarantee, you know, It's not a guarantee.
Actually, well, you guys even have that example in the book about that lady, the woman who was, you know, going through the Egyptian mystery schools, and she got tempted and taken into the dark side. The dark side, yeah.
Yeah. It does happen, and it's a lesson. It's a lesson don't take anything for granted. Don't take your talents for granted. Don't take your wealth for granted. None of this comes from us. It comes through us. But if the ego gets involved and thinks, oh, the cat's meow. Barbara had a great story when she was a teenager. Her spiritual talents were opening so fast that she said at one point, I thought I was pretty hot stuff. I could sit in class. I knew what the question the teacher was going to ask. I knew the answer before she even asked the question, And one morning she woke up and all the talents were gone. Everything.
Wow.
No oracy, no connection to the higher, nothing. First, she couldn't figure out what was going on. She said it lasted for about 2 weeks. And then she realized, oh, wow, this is them. They're teaching me something. They're saying my gifts aren't coming from me. They're coming through me.
She was taking them for granted.
Exactly. Yeah. And she said, I never took it for granted ever again. And I never seen her do it ever the whole time. I've known her 37 years now and never seen her take her talents. As a matter of fact, she would call me and says, if you ever see me sitting on my laurels, you call me on it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more about Barbara and her teacher too.
Yeah. So, there's so many great stories. I have to tell one just for fun. So, as I mentioned, her father was a Greek priest, and he used to build churches, so they were prominent in the Greek community. And one time, she was only 4 years old, and they went to a cathedral. It was a cathedral, I think, or a very large church where the archbishop was there. They were inaugurating this whole building. It was a huge deal, and everybody was there. And of course, Barbara and the family were prominently there. And little 4-year-old Barbara still can't understand what she's seeing, but she's looking at the aura of the archbishop, and she sees not these beautiful colors, but these dark, grotesque colors around him. And she's like, what's going on here? But the bishops on either side of him had these beautiful colors. So at the end, you're supposed to kiss the hand, in this case, the archbishop. Little 4-year-old Barbara blurts out in front of the whole group, oh, no, I'm not kissing his hand. He's a monster. He eats children.
Wow.
So she learned to start to keep quiet about that kind of stuff. And when she was 11, she was in a theater group, and the leader was Dorothy Lamaze. She was this theater stock company owner. And one Saturday, she just come into my private area, my home. I want to talk to you. And she thought, oh, she's going to drop me from the troupe. And basically, Dorothy confronted her and said, you can see the aura, can't you? And Barbara's mouth drops. Says, is that what it's called? And then she said, I'm a Hermetic scientist. My mother, grandmother are both Hermetic scientists. I see the aura like you. And I want to teach about your gifts. And so she started training her in understanding what the different colors meant and all of that. So that started to empower her. The other woman she studied with, Inez. Inez was already, very awakened mystic, but she never went on there's the kind of secret stuff. She never went on the public platform. She only had these closed classes. And so when they started, right away, Inez saw the potential. And she would say to Barbara, you're meant to go into the public. Because at that point, again, talking about the aura, it was like, come on, are you kidding? It was before even Kirlian photography, But this woman, and there's a beautiful story in the book where they had this tremendous out-of-body experience together. They both went out of their body together. And she was training Barbara in the heaven worlds, helping to build her devotion to the divine. So they had many experiences like that until basically Barbara was ready to go on her own and really start, teaching the work, which she did in the 1970s. I met her in the 1980s. Again, I was only like 2-3 years in LA, and suddenly all this other stuff was happening to me. And she was, interestingly enough, just restarting her classes. She had taken a sabbatical, so the timing was great. We kind of came together, and it was just out of the box. We started working together, writing together, and the rest, they say, is history.
Wow, that's fantastic.
You mentioned Abraham Lincoln. Can you give us any other modern or modernish examples of these incarnations?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's obvious ones like Mahatma Gandhi or Mother Teresa. They're definitely heavenly souls. They can come in through religious. Sometimes they do come in like Mother Teresa because she's on that mission. Definitely, they have said, Albert Einstein was definitely a soul from the heaven worlds. Not all the popes, but John Paul was from the heaven worlds as well. Now, interesting, some of them, like, for example, Paramahansa Yogananda, he was from what we call the interplanetary worlds. So these are the realms, at least in his lifetime as Yogananda, that was years ago. We don't know exactly where he is now. And those are the realms between the astral and the heavenly. So he was but yet his teacher, Sri Yukteswar, was a heavenly soul. So, and I don't know the reasons exactly, but I always have thought, well, Yogananda had to break so much ground. So being a little bit, the interplanetary, maybe people could relate to him better. And it was an easier connection because he was remarkably successful. Probably of the early East Indian gurus or swamis that came over, he was the most successful. One of his big places is here in Encinitas. I like to joke that Encinitas has two cardinal virtues, yoga and surfing, Yeah.
Is there anything else from your book that we should touch on before we run out of time?
Well, boy, there's so much to talk about, but definitely, you hit so much about the practical aspects to really focus on developing a connection. If you were to realize again that all the inspiration you're getting is coming from those inner worlds, then it means that the more you start connect with them, the better. And you did talk about the cautionary tale too. Some people, when they get so excited with the spiritual, they want to just accept anything and everybody, but just be, like you said, be discerning. Is it bringing out the best in you? Is it, obviously you don't want to do anything that questions your ethical nature. Barbara's story about the woman that was caught up with a Jim Jones. What a horrifying story that was. And
Jim Jones, like Dallas Cowboys owner Jim Jones? No, that's like Jerry Jones.
Jim Jones massacre. The Jim Jones massacre.
The Jim Jones massacre. I've never heard of this.
Barbara went there and tried to take a couple people. Tried to say warn a couple people. Right. And I think maybe you should tell the story if
well, okay. I'll just, again, it's, I don't want to leave on this sad note, but basically Jim Jones was sort of this preacher, socialist, I don't know what you want to call him, but he was up in the Bay Area of San Francisco. And the tragedy was as the authorities were starting to catch up with him, he decided to flee the country. He went to Guyana. He brought a lot of his group there and started a commune there. And some of the family members were getting very worried about their loved ones. So they sent the state representative down, and basically some of the people in the commune killed him. Yeah. And then they knew, it was all over. And Jim Jones was half insane by then. He basically told all his followers to take this electric Kool-Aid and commit mass suicide.
Oh, he's the Kool-Aid guy?
Yeah, he's the Kool-Aid guy. 800 people died that day.
They all drank the Kool-Aid? Did he drink the Kool-Aid?
Well, he was dead. I don't know if it was from the Kool-Aid or from something else, but they found him dead too. Yeah, so, but Barbara knew one of the women.
I can't even get 800 people to support.
Well, he must have had a certain magnetism, right, to be able to do that. But back when, Barbara had a student was in the group, and she went to, she knew something was wrong, and she went to one of the meetings in San Francisco, and she said, boy, the minute I saw him and saw his aura, I knew this guy was no good. He had done terrible things, including probably murder. And she started to leave. Interesting enough, she said there was this big bruiser at the door, says, nobody leaves a Jim Jones rally. And she said, you want to make a bet? You watch me. And she left. Her friend was insulted, but she called her up that night and says, please get away from him. He's absolutely no good. She said, Barbie, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, not only did she go down to Guyana, she brought her family, and she convinced another family to go down there. And I guess while they were down there, her aunt died. Jones said, go back to the States, get the money, and come back. While she was in the States, her family and her friend's family, they all died. But she lived.
Yeah.
Of the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Of the Kool-Aid. Yeah, the cyanide, whatever they put in the Kool-Aid. Yeah, the cyanide. Yeah. It's a horrible story, and they're still trying to.
Because they caught the spaceship, right? Was that the?
No, that's
here. I hate to say that happened here in Rancho Santa Fe.
Oh, I'm mixing up my cults. They
were going on the spaceship. That was Heaven's Gate people. 50 people committed suicide on that one.
Did they drink Kool-Aid too? What did they?
No,
do?
They had the purple shoes, I think, or something. Or...
How did they do it? I don't remember, but it was nasty. I hate to say it was nearby us. It is very.
California is very famous for cults.
Well, I get, and this is a very wealthy area. It happened in Rancho Santa Fe, where all
and
the
communes too.
Yeah, well, I guess we're the cutting edge of things here, and sometimes it works on the good end.
Oh, that's funny.
Because like Manson and all that was in California too, wasn't it?
Oh my God, yeah.
Well, let's finish off on a high note, on an enlightenment note, or on the heavenly realm at least.
Well, the point is, heaven is real. Okay, it's not a fantasy. It's not make-up land, and you are receiving from it now. You are receiving the ideas that are flowing, that are truly helping you in your life, are coming from the heaven worlds. So the goal is start connecting with heaven now. Start, if you're not meditating, I hope you're going to start to try practicing it. They've shown even 30, if you meditate every day, 30 minutes for 3 months, discernible change in your brain, and it will help you to get connected to these inner realms and be a part of them.
And I guess the other message is you don't have to go in order, astral, heaven. You can go right to heaven.
Well, you can connect from heaven. You will evolve through those planes, but the goal is you need sort of like the source to help sort of pull you up, so that you're coming from the higher as you're evolving through these astral planes and all that's encompassed in them. Because the astral is very important. You accomplish a lot of things there. You drop your lower nature, you gain your enlightenment. All those things happen in the astral worlds. So they are important, and they're very, near us right now. So they're not, they're not the heaven worlds, but they're close to us right now. Yeah.
Right on. Well, this has been super fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Do you have
Thank
any
you.
questions, Darren, at the end, or final questions? Or?
Well, I'm thinking about the heaven world. Is that like, is that the same as the astral realm?
No, it's
two different places.
Yeah. So the astral has these mixed levels, but the heavenly is all developed. It's all enlightened. As a matter of fact, bring up Blavatsky again. She didn't quite use the word heaven, but they asked her, when you get to those high planes, you've reached perfection. Is it over? Are you, on clouds playing harps, or what happens, when you get there? And I love her answer. Said, no, you grow from perfection to perfection. You reach one. It's like you climb Mount Everest. You say, hey, I did it. And then you look back and you realize, oh my God, there's another mountain twice as big as Mount Everest. But I think that's a great idea, because the adventure never ends. I would hate to think we reach this static place and then it would get boring, as beautiful as it may be. But since life is an adventure, hopefully it keeps going on.
So are we talking about like heaven from the Bible, or is this like a heaven that's more overarching to...
Heaven from all
from everything.
Yeah, it's really interesting, but the idea of heaven can be traced all the way back to the Mesopotamia times, and even the specific 7 heavens. So the Christian Bible has kind of probably our most popularized understanding of heaven comes from the Christian, but even specifically, Emanuel Swedenborg, in the 1600s, he was a theologian and a mystic, and his depiction of the heaven worlds even holds true to today. And he kind of set the bar. But really, when you study, there are heavenly traditions in almost all the mystical teachings. Again, we're interpreting them through the religious veil, but we have to understand that it is a real place. And again, it's not a religious, I'll only go there if I'm religious. You go there when you've earned the power to be able to go there. Yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
Is there any zodiac signs that are closer than others? Does that ever play into it or so? Because remember some people talking to us about how the zodiac was like a cycle, and you could like work your way through that, and you had to get through that before. Well,
that's a fascinating study, the esoteric astrology, because that's about the rhythm of the cosmos, right? Because the cosmos is in motion, so there's a rhythm to our unfoldment. And you're absolutely right. there are these cycles of unfoldment, and the zodiac energy is coming from the heavenly realms as well. Absolutely. The astrology, it's very interesting. We see that, for example, the geocentric model of the universe, and we say, hey, that's outgrown. We know the Earth's not the center of the universe. But the mystics used that model as a veiled allegory of our ascent from earth-based consciousness to the heavenly consciousness and the levels it takes to get there. So it is interesting that, yes, we're outgrowing some misunderstandings of, the past, but also the ancients had a lot of knowledge. They knew, for example, the earth revolved around the sun. They just couldn't prove it, and you couldn't talk about it openly because you probably get ostracized. I think some did. There was a couple of Greek philosophers that tried to, and nobody believed them. But
it seems like the Egyptians were just open to it.
Yeah, they were. The Egyptians had some of the most advanced mystery schools of all time. People talk about the pyramid. The Great Pyramid was built by aliens and all that kind of stuff. Who could have that kind of brain power back then? But they don't realize the initiates did have that brain power back then. They were fully capable of doing that stuff. And from what we understand, that Great Pyramid was originally a pyramid of initiation. That pyramid was used where the initiates would go through their grand initiations. And
is that what the cathedrals were for too?
Well, in a religious sense, yes. The same thing. The grand. Today the monoliths are the monoliths of finance, right? The high rises and all of that. But in other times, the monoliths were either the religious or the mystical, because those are the things that were highly valued. We promote the things we value most. Right now, we seem to put a high premium on money, and accumulating wealth, and that's important. But they also teach us one of the great lessons on the planet right now is to put divine above money, because once we can harness the energy of the earth energy, but for a spiritual purpose and not just selfish gain, we're going to enter a whole new era of spiritual development as a world. And that's the direction we're going in. People like to paint the glass half empty, but if you look at the last 100 years, how much better overall the conditions of life were compared to 100 years ago. Yeah, we have a long ways to go, but we've come a long ways. Yeah. And we need to acknowledge that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, do you have a website or social media, anything like that, where our listeners can track you down?
Our organization is Spiritual Arts Institute, spiritualarts.org. We're a nonprofit. And if you just type in Spiritual Arts Institute, you can go to our website or our social media page. And we're having classes and workshops coming up. Our foundational course, Change Your Life, teaches you how to meditate with divine light. We have the whole 7 Arts training program, of which we're talking today, is one of the courses, how to help you evolve through the planes. And the whole foundation, everything we do is meditating with divine light to help you grow spiritually. Our motto is helping souls grow.
Awesome. Sounds fantastic. We'll put it all in the show notes and we'll let you know when it comes out.
Great. All right.
Yeah, it's been fun. Yeah, I loved your book. Yeah. And it was a great chat.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dimitri.
Right on, Dimitri. Thanks for coming on the show.
Okay. Appreciate it. Okay. Bye-bye.
And that was our chat.
Well,
what'd you think?
Yeah, it was good. What'd you think?
Yeah, we're on a real Jesus-y tear lately. I guess this one was less Jesus-y.
Oh my God, yeah, way less.
Much less.
Forget
Jesus-y.
that heaven and Jesus don't.
I think I'm scared of Jesus.
We got to read that out. We got to read that in the next intro or something. We got some feedback.
I got it handy.
Grimerica Outlawed. Oh yeah, okay. Read
you want to just read it now?
Sure, if you want. Yeah, but I'm going to read it later too.
Or you gonna read it twice?
Yeah, definitely.
Why?
Because I want to read it on the Outlawed show. It's from the Outlawed show.
Didn't I send it to you?
Yeah. See, now I got it right here, and then he can't find it.
Well, I got it right here. I sent it to you. You're all texty again. You're texting more than you have been when you were sick and dying. America Outlawed. New reviews. 3 stars. Awesome guests. They have great guests, but for some reason, the hosts are afraid of Jesus. It's pretty embarrassingly immature.
I mean, I don't know if that's immature. I mean, Jesus.
Is it because we don't believe?
We're not bringing him into our lives. That's how I think that's what they mean. Because we were resisting Jesus. We were overtly resisting bringing Jesus into our lives.
Well, you were bringing Jesus people on the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had a bunch of different, different people talking about it. I mean, both sides of the house. So how can we be scared of it if we're approaching it from all sides? But
we chickened out at the last minute
because we haven't brought it. We haven't
Someone
accepted it.
Someone messaged the other day
lives.
that part of the show should be called Graham Dunlop's Search for God.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
good.
That could be a segment.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. See?
There it is.
Who is he? Did you find him?
You know what I want to know?
Uh-oh.
How to go learn for a couple of years in the astral realm and then come back 2 hours later.
Well, let's just run upstairs. I got you.
You got me? You got me covered? You got me covered?
I got you covered.
I mean, really.
I can't. You're clean and sober.
Is it too late?
For what?
To learn that?
How to what? Smoke DMT?
Dude, no, to go to the astral realm and learn.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so.
For a long time. Like spend
But
years
here's the
there.
thing. Even if you figure it out when you're like 75, now you have all the time in the world to spend in the astral realm.
That's right. Years at a time. You could do years at a time in the schools, learning stuff.
Just while you're sleeping.
Yeah. You come back 2 hours later. Just all night. One night, you just spend years learning.
Well, that would be something. Do you think you'd wake up tired?
Oh, you'd be exhausted. Yeah, it'd take you a couple weeks to catch up.
Like you're burning. Where's the energy coming from?
Yeah.
Maybe you're tapping into free energy?
Yeah, maybe.
To run you?
Yeah, to run you.
Well, your body just withers away.
Run you in that realm, yeah. My body, I feel like my body's withering away right now.
In all the wrong places. Your arms look a little smaller.
Oh, I've lost like 18 pounds probably.
Now you gotta start running.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
I think I'm gonna start running.
I tried working a few hours a day here, and I almost.
What do you do when it's
did too
cold
much.
though? Overdid it.
Overdid it. Yeah, I'm exhausted tonight.
Well,
barely podcast.
I mean, a couple weeks in the house, I was winded. Plus the COVID probably does it a bit too. But I mean, you've been in the house a while.
What does that have to do with being winded?
Well, I'm just saying, after me being in the house for 2 weeks because of the quarantine and everything. I mean, 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago now or whatever, when we were in Washington, I was climbing mountains and running down them and jumping in the water. And then, I go back to work after 2 weeks in the house and like going up to the 6th floor. I'm like, whew. I'm not only winded, but I feel it in my legs too. Yeah. I can like feel the burn. And you've just been, you're recently into the new life, which you've embraced. And but you did go out painting already once and it was fine.
When?
Before COVID.
Oh yeah, that was
like
good.
2
Yeah.
weeks
Oh
straight.
yeah, no, that was 100%. That was fine, 100%. No, it's now. It's oof. It's a bit much.
You gotta work for it. You gotta get after it.
Yeah.
We should go trail running.
Oh, I can't even imagine. No, I need to rest.
Remember you used to make fun of O'Leary for tumbling down the hill?
Yeah, I used to run down mountains.
I don't know how you could do it in those
could
little
do it.
shoes. Even with those claws you guys used to strap on your feet. O'Leary tumbling down the hill. He missed like a week of work because of that.
He broke both of his ankles. Or he sprained both of his ankles on two different accidents.
Did you have to carry him out? Did you have to carry him out?
I think I had to help him out.
You're in a survival situation.
Just about, yeah. I mean, I saw him parallel to the ground. I look back and I see him flying through the air.
I wonder whatever happened to him. I hope
I shouldn't have set the pace, really. Yeah. I should let him go first.
You gotta set your own pace. It's up to him to decide whether or not he can keep up.
I guess.
This is the problem is when people are pushing themselves to catch up to you.
Yeah.
And they fall. There's nothing worse than falling when you're running down a hill. Especially if you're going like full tilt. Sometimes when I get going, I'm just like, oof. If something fails here.
Oh yeah, that's what's so exciting about it. I mean, that's what's so exciting. Every footfall matters. You're
completely in the
placement
moment.
matters.
You're watching exactly where every fucking foot's gonna.
Exactly.
And with those new boots that fucking tie into your ankle, so they give you some so you can actually roll it a little bit, and it's all right.
I don't like that. I like the shoes.
I don't know how you can do it in those shoes. It's no wonder he broke both his ankles. All right,
no, he sprained both. I don't want to be misinformation.
He's a broken man. Grimerica.ca/support if you can, when you can. We can't do this without you guys. We love you. I mean, we've been doing this 8-9 years now. It'll be going on 9 years. We're heading into winter. All the bills come up. This is a full-time gig now for Graham. So, I mean, all that winter expenses come along. Grimerica.ca/support. If you guys want to jump on the supporter bandwagon, help us get up to maybe 800 supporters. I mean, if they can get 800 people to drink the Kool-Aid, we can't get 800 people to click the fucking monthly support link. Help us change that statistic. Grimerica.ca/support. Adultbrain.ca if you want to check out all the audiobooks Graham's been doing. The Religion of the Chinese is officially out now.
Nice.
Through the Magic Door, Isis Unveiled, Volume 1.
Through the Magic Door's out?
Yeah. Well, and we just talked about all the Blavatsky stuff. See Isis Unveiled, 35 hours. Secret Doctrine, Volume 1, 35 hours.
Was Isis Unveiled that long?
It was 30 maybe.
30 hours? Yeah, wow. That was a big book, yeah.
There's about 150 hours of Graham reading Blavatsky.
Oh.
And there's some great mispronunciations in there, too. I mean, they're worth the price of fucking admission.
Just to check it out, just to make fun of me.
Things go oury sometimes. I think that's it. Spam Graham. Graham@gramerica.com. Join the chats, gramerica.ca/chats if you got to get off this social media bullshit and get into the chats. I think that's about it. We love you guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
I'm walking gingerly through the rat race. Take a look at the big old smile on my face. Kicking around down by the pool of narcissists. The people are many, they preen themselves, oh how they navel gaze. Somewhere over that hill, the gloomy skies cease to exist. I'm climbing that hill, I pass by and pity the poor Sisyphus. I go into hyperdrive, turn into a beam of light. I'm strolling down a static electric avenue. The people are predictable, they say good morning, how do you do? When out of nowhere, a randomly pure angel in the crosswalk bumps into me, and in doing so knocks all the evil and all the wind out of me. And it's black as tar, ugly as ever, and of no apology. This angelic mama sings heavenly of the truest theology. Together we're a seraphim dream, forever young with no chronology. 1,000 years from now we'll be written into ancient mythology. We go into hyperdrive, turn into a beam of light. Can you tell me about the view up there? It's sparkling remarkably, the air is crystal clear. Well, please won't you tell me what it takes to transcend this place? A little bit of heart and a whole lot of soul. Take a look at the big old smile on my face, as my angel says dance with me and your life will never ever ever be dull. I go into hyperdrive, turn into a beam of light. 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 Turn into a beam of light.